Okay, this is a quick video on how to change a peg. And Beth's peg only gets changed every 3 months, so people often don't get to see it. There is the theory that it could get pulled out, so in an emergency you need to fill the hole. So what I've been told is if you can't lay your hand on the peg, which is in Beth's emergency bag, really quickly, it's best to stick a clean catheter in the hole to make sure that there's always something going into the hole, because the hole seals up quickly. So stick a clean catheter in, get someone to hold it, or put a piece of tape over it, then get what you need to make the change, is what I've been told. Never had to do that. It can become a little bit loose, so I'll show you the peg in a minute. I'm hoping that you're going to be able to see what we're going to do in a second with Beth's peg change. It's a little bit tricky to see, but I'll try and talk you through it. So we get given this, which is the whole set that they use for changing and adding a peg when they do surgery. So there's lots of stuff in this box that you don't actually need. So I'm going to take it out. There's half a tree. And then you get this pack. You need to take off the top paper. And then inside you've got some gauze, which is useful. So I'm going to put that gauze down here because we're going to use that in a minute. And you've got the peg, which looks like so, which is also useful, and a small syringe. So I'm just going to pull the syringe out, add a little bit of air. Now we're going to put water into this in a minute, but I'm just going to inflate it to check that it's working. Just as you would do with the trachea, make sure that you pull everything out of that. We're going to prep that in a second. I'm going to put that there. And the other thing that we need from this is a feeding tube that we're going to use to test in a minute. The rest of it goes in the bin, some extra tubes and stuff in there. So those are things that we need. The other things that you need are some lubricant. So we're just going to pop a tiny bit of this on the end. I don't think really you could do this without, to be honest. It goes in very easily. The difference between this and a trachea is that this has got no introducer and it's wobbly because it's nice, needs to be nice and soft. I'll put this on here actually. Not very much left in this tube, so it's taking a bit to get it out. There we go. Just putting a tiny bit on the end. I don't want to have too much because I don't want it to go everywhere. And the other thing that we might need, that we will need, sorry, is some cool boil water. So this is just from the tap. It could have been from a kettle that had cooled, but my kettle hadn't cooled quick enough. So it's just from the tap in a clean glass. And then we've got some pH strips, which we're going to use to test later on. And simply, I'm going to use this syringe to take out any of the water that's left in this peg and to deflate the cuff. And I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to pop it onto, just going to move this apart. I'm going to put the clean one on this side. Go there. Dirty one's going to go straight onto here, and I'm just going to pick up the clean one and pop it in the hole. Sometimes I'm doing this, always do this before you do any food. So ideally it should have been a few hours after Beth had eaten so that I can test what's in her stomach. I'm doing it first thing in the morning, so there might be nothing left in her stomach to test the pH value very easily. But you might end up with a little bit of something coming out of the hole. It's not a problem, just pop it back in. So this is tricky to see how much you can see, but so popping syringe on the end of the peg and pulling water out. Now we're going to put 5 mils of water back in, but you won't get 5 mils out. So over time this does slowly lose. Theoretically you could fill this up every month, you could check it. I'm just going to put that into the water jar over there. I'm going to use that again in a second. So as I said, I'm going to literally take this one out, it might go a little bit, and then I'm going to stick the other one in. So here we go. Ready, Beth? Taking it out, popping it in. As you can see, I had to give it a little bit of a wiggle because it's got no stiffness to it, but it's as simple as that. And then I'm going to take a cool boiled water. I could have got this ready beforehand, but I'm using the same syringe. And I'm adding 5 mils of cool boiled water to that. And go, Beth. Might feel a bit different. So obviously that's a little bit fuller than it was, so it might feel a little bit closer to the skin, but that's perfectly fine, quite normal. And you can see this one that's come out a little bit yellow and discoloured because it's been sat in stomach acid. So that one I'm just going to take off. I'm just going to go in the bin. Now that, because Beck hasn't eaten recently, it didn't goo or ooze or anything, nothing came out of it. So I'm just giving it a gentle wipe round to make sure that there's no aquagel or secretions there. If it had oozed a little bit, I'd use some saline or just a flannel or something to just keep it clean and make sure it's dry underneath. And then the last thing is I need to test the pH. Now I'm not very hopeful about this, but top tips are make sure it's always locked before you try testing. So things will come out of Beth's stomach if they go lower. So you know, if you're doing feeding and you let the syringe hang down and you had it open, it would all start to come back. So we're going to try and do that by allowing something to come out. I could attach something and pull something out of Beth's stomach. It could be the other thing. So there is a spare syringe in here. So I'm going to take that just in case I need that. And then what I'm going to do is take a drop of that and drop it onto one of these pH strips. So I'm going to get our pH strip ready. Pop it there. So I've clamped off the feeding tube. I'm attaching it to this peg as normal. And because this is quite new, it's not very bendy. So I'm opening it up, pulling it down. There's a tiny bit of something coming out of there. So if I give that a gentle pull, I'm sorry sweetie, you know, just pull a little bit out your tummy, just checking I'm in the right place. So I can see I'm giving that a gentle pull, but there's nothing coming there. So I've got a tiny bit on the end. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to disconnect this and I'm going to use it off that end. So all we're trying to do is check the pH value. I've got a tiny bit of liquid out of Beth's stomach there. And I'm going to drip it on the pH strip over there. If you can see this, it's changing colour. And then we compare it against this. So we're looking for it to be on this end of the scale, on the bluer end of the scale, the lower numbers. Just hold it up against this. So that looks pretty much to me like it's right at that end, 0.2. So that's fine. So it does have instructions on here about how to do it. Compare the strips, read off the corresponding value, accuracy. Oh, it's just tells you accuracy level. So we're looking for it to be on this darker end here. So I'm absolutely happy with that. That's gone into the right place. And that's it. I'm going to put the rubbish in the bin. Job done. Peg changed, and that's good for 3 months. If it starts to wobble at any point, then you could take the water out and just replace it with some fresh water. Sometimes that's a good idea. Sometimes do that perhaps once in the middle, if anything, if it feels a bit loose. But otherwise, that's all you need to do.